Hello, my name is Kristen Sierra. I'm the teacher librarian at Lincoln High School in Tacoma, Washington. And today I want to share with you a little bit about how we maintained our reading activities while we were on doing remote learning. And part of this was made possible because we had such an incredible student leadership team who helped me stay on the pulse of what students wanted and helped me promote all of the activities that we um, were um, planning in spring and summer and into the fall and winter of this past year. So, what really kicked us off was we had our leadership team was deeply affected by the killing of George Floyd in late May 2020. And they decided to lead some peaceful protests in our city, the biggest one being on Juneteenth, June 19th, 2020, where they invited widely and they contacted local leadership to get support. They gave powerful speeches and they called for more education around combating racism. And part of that was promoting diverse books and books that would give students a lens into what it is like to be in someone else's shoes. And so we decided to start fundraising and reached out to organizations in our community who were interested in supporting us in these efforts. We met up, masked up, and met up, and we put together backpacks, filled them with books and um, snacks and school supplies, and we led book clubs through our boys and girls clubs, and our student leaders led these each week. We also promoted reading in our high school club using books that we were able to fundraise through community support. Part of this was made possible by our local independent bookstore, King's Books, and they worked with us to create some wish lists um, that we selected books to share all through social media, through email, through flyers, and we were able to gain some attention from our local newspaper and Como News for our local news outlet. And when they shared our story, the books just started pouring in. The students and I would meet together weekly right after our book club meeting and distribute the book. I distribute the books to our students, and then we would map out where we were going to go. It was mainly in their own neighborhoods in East Tacoma and South Tacoma, and they would go to the little free libraries together in groups of 2, 3, 4, and then they would load up our little free libraries each week. And we encouraged anybody who received the books to post, to tag us so that we could post the receipt of the books in the neighborhood. And this was a really exciting and really impactful process, and our students were so excited every time somebody tagged us. They were able to be interviewed by the Tacoma News Tribune, as you can see here, and this was even more publicity for our fundraising links to get out, and then this resulted in even more books. And so what was a spring and summer project turned into a fall project, and just really got the students excited that they were able to do some good in the community during this time. As I mentioned, we also fundraised to get books for our own book club. And we decided on a book by Jason Reynolds for the month of May and Dr. Abraham X. Kendi, a book called Stamped. And this book we were able to raise 100 copies. We invited really any student who was interested, and we met once a week on Wednesdays. We were able to listen in on a conversation between the authors and a bookstore owner. And we were also able to ask our questions through chat. This was a really incredible opportunity because our students had a chance to meet Jason Reynolds in October 2019 and had made a connection with him. And so this was an event that was really pivotal in engaging students who weren't really active in our book club before and were looking to connect with one another while they were isolated and quarantined, and on a really thought-provoking and incredible book that we were able to get to everybody. So the next month we decided on promoting Asian American Pacific Islander Month and selected a book by Randy Ribay called The Patron Saints of Nothing. And Randy was kind enough to offer any classroom or any book club a free author visit. We were able to live stream that on Facebook, and many students tuned in. We were able to offer it internally as well as externally, and we're able to get lots of students interested. About 40 students signed up to read this book, and we came up with the idea to do a cooking class through another organization in our community that celebrates Asian American and Pacific Islander cuisine. And so we were taught live in a virtual cooking class by a Filipino-American chef. And we were able to create these beautiful recipes of lumpias and mango and sticky rice at the end of the month. And this was a really fun activity. And students asked me, when can we do this again? It was so fun. They were able to cook dinner and dessert for their entire families. The next month, we were able to get Monday's Not Coming through Sora, the free summer offers. And we listened to Monday's Not Coming audiobook, which is an excellent audiobook. And having already read a few of Tiffany D. Jackson's books, our leaders asked, can we reach out to her and do something with her on social media? And so we did, and they were able to interview her live on Instagram. And we invited our whole club, and anyone else who was interested joined in. Our leaders interviewed her, asked her about Money's Not Coming, asked her about some of her other books. And this was a really neat way to do an author visit because it was open to everyone, anyone who has Instagram, and was a way to promote a new book that she had coming out the following month, as well as connect with her on a book that we had read. And it was a really incredible experience. We went ahead and repeated that experience the next month with Dear Justice by Nick Stone. And Nick agreed to be interviewed by another one of our student leaders who is a big Nick Stone fan, loved her book Dear Martin, and was very excited about Dear Justice coming out this fall, and was able to connect with her again on Instagram Live. We streamed it, and Nick was very excited to participate. We invited not just our book club, but anybody in our Project Lit community and on Instagram to tune in. And this was a really neat look into Dear Justice that we read in the fall. So moving into voting season, we decided to do a voting themed month the following month. We had lots of copies of the book March left over from our book clubs that we led with middle schoolers this summer. And we featured book one, but if students had already read that, they could read book 2 or book 3. And we reached out to an artist who had previously visited our school. His name is Man One, and he has a very unique style of graffiti art. And we asked him to lead a workshop for us. And so we were able to raise money to pay him to do an hour-long workshop along the lines of voting. So inspired by John Lewis, using your vote or using your voice through your vote was our theme for the month. And he gave us a little tour of his studio. He showed us his approach to creating caricatures or you know, human drawings, as well as his graffiti style writing. And our students were able to participate live with us that day. It was a really great way to kick off Reading March, and a really great way to celebrate the power of voting. At the end of the month, we were able to welcome Andrew Eden for a author visit that we opened up not only to our book club, but to our entire Project Lit community across the country. And one of our leaders from Project Lit Abe's led the interview, but it was also open to any other students who had questions for Andrew. We also kicked off December by letting students know that we were going to be reading another graphic novel for the month of December. And we reached out to the illustrator. After the success of our art workshop with Man One, we reached out to the illustrator, Danica Novgorodov, and she agreed to do an art workshop with us in December to kick off reading her joint effort with Jason Reynolds of their graphic novel, Long Way Down. After our workshop, we were able to get copies to our students for Long Way Down. And after reading the book, we got together again, and Jason tuned in this time and was willing to be asked questions by our students. And this was another way that we were able to connect with Jason after having met him in person and having two other series that we were able to participate in with Stamped. We were able to promote and talk about his newest book, Long Way Down, in graphic novel form. And then Danica took us through her method, showed us kind of what she does when she is starting to come up with characters, how she models her characters after real people, and showed us some of her work that she had done previous to Long Way Down. And this was a really great experience. Our students got to follow along with her and create some of their own artwork. And then at the end of December, we did another group cooking experiment. We made a family recipe of mine, and thankfully I was able to connect with a local organization who had previously asked if they could help us out, and they bought all the ingredients for this Norwegian strudel that we made, and the students were so excited. They delivered them to their homes along with the book that we were reading that month, and students made this strudel for their families. You can see our volunteers bagging up the ingredients for the students, and the students baking creations that they shared with me. That was a really wonderful way to end up the semester and just kick off our winter break, as well as just do something that would be a way to connect students with their own families. I was able to get their book for them for the month of January through the grocery delivery service. And we did another event in January where we hosted a chef who led the students through his special cupcake recipe. And we read from the desk of Zoe Washington for the month of January. Partnering up with people who are willing to share their strengths with your students is huge. And the local library is a really great resource for school librarians as well. Our local library is putting on multiple writers workshops, poetry workshops. They even have a youth-centered contest that we are going to take part in. And I just highly recommend any librarian who wants to engage students to reach out to community partners who would be willing to work with students, to reach out to authors, and before doing any of that, to connect with the students and just really understand what are their interests and what are some books that really sound good, and choose your books based on what they say, choose the activities based on what they vote for, um, and just invite widely, encourage students to invite their friends, and um, you'll have as much success as I had um, trying to engage students in online learning. Thank you so much.